I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach podcast to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I am on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Today I have Miss Laura with me from Silver Solutions, and she is going to tell you a little bit about what she does, and then we are going to dive into questions that I know you all would want answered because they were the questions I had. So the way I found out about their company is one of their sales team members actually reached out to me because they are now coming to Knoxville. So I got to learn a little bit about what they do, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have a podcast. Like, you should come on. Let's talk about it," because their business is expanding all over the country. So I'm super excited to have this conversation, and thank you, Laura, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell everybody a little bit about like your backstory of who you are and how this got started, and then we'll go into kind of what Silver Solutions does.
Okay, perfect. So I'm a professional organizer for over 25 years. And I swear every time I say that, I feel like I'm 90. I started organizing back in the day in Chicago. I was a general organizer, organizing kitchens, closets, kids' rooms, like everyone else. And about 3 years into that service in Chicago, we had a family tragedy that changed the trajectory of the company completely and now has us who we are today as Silver Solutions. We were hit with a sudden illness and death that no one was prepared for. And what that taught me was, as a professional organizer who knew how to logistically help someone navigate emptying a home after somebody passed away, when you're dealing with the grief and the overwhelm around it, all of your skills go right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So, about a year after that family tragedy, I started adding the services of what is now home emptying and working with families who've lost their loved one, with helping them redistribute their items back to the community, back to their family, to get the home ready for whatever's next for that space. And that's how it all evolved. So I went from very general organizer to very niche focused organizer. And now we are Silver Solutions current day, focusing on older adults. We work with older adults 65, and we now take them all the way to end of life. So that's where we are today.
I love it. And then, so I think it's you and then there's a guy named Dan, right, that owns Silver
yeah, that,
Solutions.
yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yes. So I founded it many, many years ago. And my business partner, Dan Lagani, who is the brains of the overall national expansion. Thank you, Dan. He's been with us for just about 7 years. And he has a background in digital marketing and growth strategy and all of the things that I knew nothing about. I just knew that I wanted to help as many families as I possibly could. And if we could have this company go national and expand and be available to families when they needed us most, that was going to be a win. And
Absolutely.
fast forward, Dan arrived, and now we've signed national contracts and are now helping families all around the US.
I love it. So I think the best place to start is just like if a client were to reach out to you or someone that like from the client perspective, and then we'll talk about from the organizer's perspective. So from the client perspective, if someone finds you or they reach out to you, is it typically just that someone has passed? Is it also downsizing? Like what are the typical things that they're reaching out to you for?
So, good question. So, we offer three very specific services. One is safe living. That's probably the closest to a general organizer's service. We'll talk more about that. Then there is the senior downsize relocation, and then there's the home emptying, either after someone passes away or after they've completed a relocation. So we'll start with the safe living. Safe living really enables our older adults to age in place for as long as they possibly can. We focus more on safety than we do on those Instagrammable pop moments. Not that those aren't important, but really it's How is mom or dad or aunt or uncle navigating the home? How are they ambulating? Is there a free access way safely in and out of the home? Can they get to the bathroom? Clearly, can they go make a sandwich in the kitchen? Can they get to their favorite chair to watch TV? And most importantly, can they get in and out of bed without there being a trip and fall hazard? We also do some minor upgrades and installations in bathrooms like grab bars and whatnot to make sure that when they are in the bathroom, that they're safely in there. We do so much around the decluttering because that's just a natural thing that happens in our older adults' homes, especially for our folks that have been living in their homes for 40, 50, 60 years. When they have the space, they fill it. And what they've stopped doing, if they ever did it in the past, was they stopped eliminating because physically it's just not where they're focused. They're focused on getting through day to day, and they
Mm-hmm.
stopped worrying about the clutter on the counter, the newspapers on the floor. They're more focused on their in the moment needs. And we
Yeah.
come in to prevent those future, oh my God, falls. Like we want to prevent all of those falls and all of those hospitalizations if possible.
Awesome. And then the second one was,
The senior downsize relocation. I think a lot of organizers now are either dabbling in the senior downsize relocation. They've definitely been deeply entrenched in the relocations themselves. Our goal is to complete the senior downsize relocation in 2 phases. First phase, if possible, is to complete the relocation first. We psychologically take the older adult through the process of a wish list and shopping from their home and everything moving forward, looking forward to the new space, looking forward to decorating, recreating spaces that they love in their current home in a smaller, more available space in their from their old home to their new home. Then, after the relocation is completed, we do everything from sorting and packing the non-breakable items. We then bring our movers in to pack the breakable and wrap all the furniture, transport from origination to destination. And then our partners on site then will do the unpack settle in, making sure everything is unpacked, organized, debris is removed, artwork is on the walls, the bed is made, ready for mom or dad to sleep there that evening if that's the desired outcome. And then we go back to the home, and that's our final phase, and that's the home emptying. Home emptying happens, as I said, either after the relocation is done. There's plenty of families that have said, we got mom's relocation. That's easy enough. It's everything else in that five
mm-hmm.
bedroom home that we don't know what to do with. So we have a whole team dedicated to researching local organizations. We get super creative when it comes to making sure we get as much back out to those organizations that lost their funding and can't do the quick pickups anymore. We find ways to get the items to them. And then we work with the family on family distribution and shipping and moving things to make sure that whatever can have a second life through family needs do.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually just did a session with a lady that I'm glad you kind of said it that way because they had hired me to come in and kind of help her declutter, thinking she was going to live there a little bit longer. So, phase one of what you all do. And then it was a few months later, they were ready to go ahead and put her into assisted living because she was getting worse with dementia and she wasn't taking her medicine. And so it was a lot easier to focus on focusing forward first, what needs to go, and then looking at the house with everything that was left. And in her case, her family was okay with getting a storage unit to put, the items that they felt like she might need, or so she didn't feel like we were getting rid of everything because she went to such a small space. And so then sorting through all of that, and then in like a week or two, I still have to go deal with all the furniture. And like, there's a lot of moving pieces to all of that. And then, okay, so then the third one that you all do is,
So that's the home emptying, and that's what we do post the relocation or after somebody passes away. And that is sounds like
oh,
what you're going back to do. So it's safe living, the senior downsize relocation, and then the home emptying.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you all focus on for clients. When it comes to working with the clients, you guys do all of that, right? Like you're in touch with the families, you guys are the ones setting up the movers or the dumpsters or the like all of the pieces that are
Correct.
actually needing to be happening. So when it comes to the organizers that you all hire that obviously are like in that town, wherever it is that they're going, I guess let's start with what are you all typically looking for in an organizer that fits nicely with Silver Solutions?
Sure. So first I should say one of the wonderful things that came out of the national contracts that we've signed is the ability to do what I've always wanted to do, which is to strengthen our partnership with professional organizers all over the US. I've been partnering personally, have been partnering with professional organizers for as long as I've been organizing. I would say about a year or two into just general organizing, I realized that, and I know it sounds hokey, that together we are better and stronger, and that there is so much business out there for all of us to work with and work on together. And I still do believe that 25 years later. So when Dan and I were talking about how are we going to scale, how are we going to be able to support all of these families, we have some of our teams already locked and loaded in places. And what we need now is to strengthen that reach. So we are building our partnership with professional organizers. We are essentially reaching out to, we have an entire team dedicated to reaching out to professional organizers and other industries as we build momentum with the national support that the older adults need. Our partnership is exactly that. We want it to be a partnership. Our professional organizers are professional organizers themselves. They own their own company. They organize the way that they organize. The best kind of organizer to be a partnership with Silver Solution is someone who really appreciates the background support. And what I mean by that is we handle all the details. So for example, when we get an inquiry, we get on average 100 to 125 inquiries for projects for support a week. So we are constantly combing through initial conversations, completing assessments, doing the intake conversations. I think I mentioned to you it's never short of like 5, 6, 7 conversations before we even kick off a project because we're
Mm-hmm.
speaking to the family member, we're speaking with the older adult if they have capacity, the person who's paying the bills. We're digging in so deep, so we learn so much about the individual and the project itself to
Mm-hmm.
prepare for the right partner. And in this case, we're talking professional organizers. So we deal with scheduling the movers, scheduling the free donation pickup, ordering the supplies for you to swing by and pick up. We get them ordered, paid for, and you pick them up on the way to work. We, for example, right now we're working on a home in New Hope, Pennsylvania. And this individual, I love it, my 86-year-old gentleman is selling his home in New Hope, putting his apartment in New York City up for rent, and he just bought a home in Miami. And him and his dog are loading up and they're driving to Miami and they're taking a 5-day road trip to get to Miami to start his whole new life at 86. While our partner is working directly with him, they come across a lot of documents that he realizes he doesn't need to take with. So now all of a sudden they need shredding to happen on the last day. Last day is tomorrow. Great. All that partner has to do, and that's exactly what Anne did, is Anne went on our communication portal, Slack, which is how we communicate with all of our folks on every single project. You have your own channel dedicated to your own project. And Anne reached out to us as a support team and let us know that she needs shredding for up to 10 boxes to happen tomorrow around noon, maybe 2 o'clock. She got to keep going with the client. She has a support team in Silver Solutions where we're in the background scheduling and getting all of that in place. This building also requires certificates of insurance and elevator reservations and all of that. We knew we were going to have vendors in place. We just didn't have the final details. So we already had elevators locked and loaded. COIs were already in place for our company. And now the final details are happening for tomorrow. All of that is happening while the organizer and the partner gets to continue focusing on the thing that they love most, which is organizing and working directly with the client. And that's just an example of the background work that we do during a project. So we aren't one of those companies that sort of tosses a project to you, wishes you good luck, high five, and then we'll cut a check later. That's not us. We are literally working together in partnership, which is why we use that word, to be able to work with these families, support their needs. We just got an email back from a family just over the moon for our team in Texas and over the moon for our teams in Ohio. So the partnership is so strong because it is the organizers get to focus on the thing that we really need them to focus on, which is the person, the human,
Mm-hmm.
the one in the room, not the logistics in the background. We all know as organizers that stuff has to happen. That's what Silver Solutions does. We acquire the clients, we build a project plan, we choose the right partner, we partner across the finish line, and then we complete the project together. And for us, it's a win-win because nothing makes me happier than to reach out to the partner and tell them how thrilled the family is, how they could not have done it without them. And they're right. Together, all of us as a unit in partnership are helping these families. And that's the cool part to me. And I know it sounds like I'm on a soapbox, but I'm super excited about it.
I mean, I think it's amazing what you're doing and exactly what you said. There are those companies out there, and we won't name them, but that do exactly that, right? They're like, hey, here's the project. And typically it's not even a detailed description of the project, it's a very vague description of the project. And then they say, all right, good luck. Let us know how it goes at the end and give us a detailed list of everything at the end. Like, there's not any support really. It's just a very, like, here you go, good luck, hope it works out with the client kind of thing. And so, what you guys are doing is making sure that there is that support and then everything, is working in a way that it's just a good system that you have going, that you've obviously been doing this a while. So, you know what you're doing when it comes to all of that. So typically, when a client reaches out to you and you do the assessment and you figure out, okay, it's going to take 3 days of which you all do 8 hour days typically. You said randomly you'll do a 6 hour day, but it's normally an 8 hour day. And it's normally it's 400 a day for the lead organizer, and then it's 300 a day for the assistant organizers. You all decide based on your experience and like what needs to be done, like, oh, we think this project needs one lead with one assistant for 3 days, or one lead with two assistants for 2 days, or whatever that looks like.
Correct.
And then it's up to the lead organizer to then bring in the assistants and pay them however they typically pay them. And then whatever's left over, goes into their business or however they want to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I feel like do you want to come work for us? Because
Right. Just tell
yes,
everybody
we're
how it's
done.
done.
Yes, so that's it. I mean, I'm trying to think if you missed anything. I mean, that's actually spot on. So a two-person team, exactly that. It's like you said, a lead is $400 a day, and we are 8 hours a day. We are 9 to 5 or 10 to 6. Every once in a while, we do an 11 to 7 because I got those older adults who are night owls and don't really
Yeah.
like to wake up early in the morning. So once in a while, it's an 11 to 7. But most of the time, it's 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 in your time zone. So that's important to know. Most of us are East Coast, but not all of us. We've got folks that are in our office that are on the West Coast or the Midwest or Mountain Time. So there's definitely a variation in the support in the internal. So regardless of where you are as an organizer or a partner, you still have support throughout your workday, essentially.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so I would say on average, our projects average, usually it's a two-person team. It's not always. We may adjust one-to-one for very specific reasons. If it's a relocation and we're doing prep for move, that really only requires a lead to work directly with the family or the individual. And that'll stay the same lead all the way until probably the unpack settle in. And that's when we may say to the lead, you want to have an assistant on that last day to just help get over the hump, make sure everything gets unpacked, debris gets hauled away or taken down because we're moving into communities down to the downstairs to the basement or wherever it is that they discard their items, and so that the home gets pulled together. But for the most part, that's usually a one-to-one. Or if the individual gets overwhelmed and tires very easily, then we do one-to-one. But if we're in a home emptying and the family's not there, it's usually a 2 to 3 person team. So a 3 person team is $1,000 a day, 8 hours a day, multiple days. Most of our projects average about, I think they start at 3 days and then onward. We have a family in South Carolina right now where I think we just finished our 7th or 8th day. We added a couple days. Our 8th day, we're going to finish this phase, and that's going to be completing the home and its safe living. So mom and dad can stay put. And then there are two other areas that are not as priority, but they still want to get through, and that's the garage and the outside shed. Dad needs a minute because he knows he's the one that's going to have to make all those decisions. So we're doing that as a second phase. They'll probably pause for a couple of weeks and then we'll bring the team back in. This is actually a really good example of, we'll keep the same lead on, but we'll also talk to that lead and find out if she has availability to switch her assistants out. And the only reason we're doing that for this part is because it's a little more heavy lifting. Not that
Hmm.
women can't do it, but we don't want anyone ever to get hurt. And if some organizers have extra labor, if they don't, we will secure extra labor so that nobody needs to be hauling heavy things and tossing it into a dumpster. We'll bring someone on to support the team if they physically need it.
Oh, that's really good to know because there are those times that it's the heavy items. And so having an assistant that is able to lift the stuff and does make a huge difference in what you're doing. And so, yeah, that's actually really good to know. So, this also brings up another point. You said that you guys had to add on a few days. Is it typical that you have to add on a few days? Like, what's the percentage of like you guys get it? Because it's hard, right? Like, knowing how much stuff people have, how quickly they're going to make decisions, knowing like you just don't know until you get in there and start pulling it all out. And so, are you pretty flexible with like, hey, we need to add an extra day or two, or how does that part play
Oh,
in?
yeah. So full flexible, and some of that comes down to the client, right? So that's
Yes.
the other part that we take care of. So because we're partnering with the organizer throughout the project, the way that the days break down, there'll never be a time where all of a sudden we're all shocked that we need
Yeah.
more days. Like that should never happen. So I should probably just break down how a typical day goes. So when a partner shows up on a project site, especially their first day, they announce on Slack that they've arrived. They take their wide angle before photos because we all know that the assessment photos and videos that we provide are going to look just slightly different than when you're standing in the space. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. But we always want an accurate starting point. That's why those before photos happen. Then the partner and the team, they hit the ground running. They do their sorting, packing, depending on what the actual project entails. You will be provided a project breakdown that tells you the family, the goals of the project, even how the days should break down. So for example, if there are 10 rooms in the house and we're saying we just need you to complete three, let's say three of these rooms. We have a situation right now in Virginia. The home is heavily accumulated, and we thought, let's just make it the foyer, the living room, and the front porch for day one. That's how heavily accumulated the space was. But our girls rocked and rolled. It's a team of two because we didn't think we could fit anybody else in that home. And they were able to get all the way through to halfway through the living room. Today they finished the living room, they're into the dining room, and they're going to make their way into the family room. Like they're cruising, and the family is making decisions really quickly, which is amazing. Because in this project, we thought, I mean, it's possible that we only get through three rooms. We're probably going to get through, let's see, they did the front porch, they did the foyer, they did the living room, they're in the dining room right now. They're probably going to make it into so they'll make it into the family room and the kitchen. And what they'll have is the other side of the house by the time. So that'll be the second phase. But we knew this project was going to be done in phases. All it means to us is that the second phase will be just a little bit smaller because they're rocking and rolling. Now, we
Hmm.
also haven't hit mom's room yet, right? We're dealing with all the things that we call low hanging fruit, but we haven't hit mom's room and we don't know what that's going to be like, but we're intentionally holding off so that she can see the momentum, see that it's not as scary because the daughters live there too. And so we think about it all psychologically, just like you guys. That's why I love partnering with you, with organizers, is because we're looking at it all holistically. It's not just junk in a room,
Yeah.
right? It's
The
absolutely
psych
the opposite of that. It is
Yeah.
someone's life.
Yes,
Right.
and it's each person is so different, and that's where for me I was like when was first reached out by your team, I'm like, how in the world do they figure out like how many days and how many hours, and like it's just obviously now I know it's because you've done this for forever, it's because you are very intentional and you deep dive into it beforehand, and but even with that, again, coming back to the client, if the client is very slow at making decisions, that's
But
a
we know that by day one. So if
yeah.
we know that by day one, and I might have used this as an example when we first spoke, I had a husband and wife that they did their own relocation and they were off and running. They packed their suitcases, they directed their movers, and they left. And then they left an entire home of contents that we were supposed to empty. They just kept coming back. We thought we were going to be in there, a three-person team, 2 days, and then one day to manage the removals of donation, discard, and shipping. But they came back. And when they came back, all of a sudden they wanted to review every single thing again, which is fine. It's their home. They absolutely should. But we knew that from the moment. they showed up on day one. And we knew by the midday check-in, as the lead, Brenda's the name of that partner, she was like, just a heads up, mom and dad are still here. And we've only made it halfway through one of the rooms. That was, let's say there were 3 rooms that were the goal that day. That's where your midday check-in comes in. You let us know where you stand. If you had 3 rooms and you only made it through one, okay, where do we think we stand by the end of the day? By your end of the day check-in, you're now doing a progress video of everything you finished. So there's no guesswork. We're
Mm-hmm.
literally watching the entire project unfold. The partner is actually showing us, and we're talking about it. We're not bugging you throughout the day, but between checking in, seeing the beginning, you're checking in what you were able to complete by midday. And when we see what you completed by end of day, we know exactly where we stand in the overall project. So there is never, should never be a time where we're like, I can't believe we need extra days,
Right.
because we are there with you the whole time. And there's always the spot checks, because you ladies are just, and gentlemen, are just as smart as we are. And you're standing there and you're with the human, the person who is overwhelmed or crying or whatever emotions they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just the stuff. So together we know if there's going to be an extension, and we know so far ahead of time that when you guys leave at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whenever you leave, and there's an adult child who's responsible financially, we're the ones that are picking up the phone and having the conversation and giving them the update of how it went. They see the videos of the progress that got completed that day. They know that mom showed back up again when she promised that she wouldn't. And it's okay that all of that happened, but it really is about the communication and the transparency. Again, why I keep calling it a partnership, because no one is doing these jobs in a vacuum. It doesn't work if we do it in a vacuum. So, who's not a good match for Silver Solutions partnership is if you are a lone wolf solopreneur that only wants to work inside of a bubble on your own. You know who's good for that are the jobs that where they say, here you go, take it, and off you go on your own. Because then you're not talking to anyone, you're not getting the extra support. But some folks don't want that. Some organizers are like, I'm good, I'm in my zone, I put my earpods on and I'm doing my thing. I don't want to check in, I don't want to talk to anyone, I don't want to be held accountable, I don't even want someone to get me the supplies I need. That's okay. That is absolutely fine. That just doesn't happen to be the organizer that's a good match for our partnership, because it
Mm-hmm.
really is someone who wants to work side by side with us. That's really what it comes
Yeah.
down to.
Well, and the other piece too is you said you have to be able to use Slack. So you have to be comfortable with
Technology.
yeah, with technology and when it comes to the check-ins, because I have had a few of my members with that other company that we were mentioning earlier, the one that God bless them, but they're not the best. They would have it to where at the end of the day, on your own time, after
Heard
the
this.
day, that
Mm-hmm.
you have to go home and like write out an entire list of like every item that was donated as it's being donated. You had to like one of my organizers from one day spent 3 hours at home afterwards having to like write out or type out all of this stuff and fill out all this information, and she didn't get paid for any of that time. So by the time you factored that into the day that like she ended up making like half of what per hour kind of thing than she thought she would, because there was all this like back end work once she left the site. So will you explain a little bit about that of how you all do it?
Sure. So I should probably say the reason we do it the way we do it now is because we learned a long time ago that kind of stuff doesn't work for anyone. I'm the person who's saying, do your project recaps while you're in the home because you're standing right there. And as the lead, your assistants are still cleaning up, wrapping up, doing the things that you do in that last 30 minutes, because you know no one ever stops a job and walks out.
Right.
So you start to wrap up at the last 30 minutes. What does it mean to make the space neat enough for you to return and know that an organizer organizes their space before they leave? It's just what they
Yeah.
do. While that is happening, that is the perfect time for the lead to do the narrated video of everything that got completed and do the project recap. And the project recap is simply, remember that project breakdown that you got? And it said on Tuesday, you're going to do the living room, the foyer, and the front porch.
Yeah.
You're simply saying, we completed the living room, the foyer, and the front porch, and we began the living room. The next time on site, we're going to pick up back in the living room and head towards the family room. We're not asking for craziness.
Okay, so it's not like itemized list, like we moved the candle to this room, we did this with this
No,
thing, we did
no,
the
no, no,
Okay.
no. However, if there is an inventory that is required, because there are some jobs that are specifically designed to be inventoried, we just signed a contract with a family. It's in California. It's in a storage unit, and the family is all over the U.S. So we're sending a two-person team to go in, unpack the things, photograph everything, and inventory it. We have an inventory system. It works. If you can text and upload a photo, you can do this inventory.
I've actually had a session where I had from California, I had a guy reach out to me. He's like, "Hey," and the reason they needed it, and I'm sure the reason you all need it too, is because when the grandmother passed and all the family spread out, through the legal process and for their estate, they needed to know what was in this storage unit. So me
Exactly.
and my assistant went in, and it was essentially what you said. Every box got opened. They were very like, listen, there's going to be a lot of like trash. Just go ahead, and we don't even need that itemized. Just anything that's like a book or some jewelry, or obviously like the thing.
Tangible. Mhm.
Yes. And so he was very good about like giving me kind of carte blanche of just like, hey, just keep me updated with photos and like make the inventory list, the stuff, just so I can send it to each of my family members, see who wants what. At the end of that job, I was mailing stuff out through UPS to each one of the people that wanted whatever.
Mhm.
And then the rest of it got hauled to donation, and then it was done. So it's so in those cases,
But that's
absolutely,
real time inventory, right? You're not,
yes.
I don't think you're going home to build that inventory.
No.
You're doing it in the moment. To me, that is your day at work. Your day at work
Yes.
is to unpack, photograph, inventory, set aside. So for us, I don't know what inventory program you use, but for our inventory program, we send our links, a link to each family member. They can actually watch the inventory be built out if they want to. They
Oh,
also have a
cool.
place where they can drop their names, where they're like, "Ooh, Susan can write her name in the column and say that's what she wants." So that's the intention for this family, because this is less about an estate and this is more about who wants what.
Yeah.
And then we do the shipping out. So it's very similar, but that inventory doesn't happen when you go home. That inventory happens as your workday.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Because as I was actually taking photos, my assistant was writing out the inventory. So,
right.
it's the exact same thing. And that's why having that two-person team is super helpful, because then it moves so much faster. But I think that's cool that because you have the background as an organizer, a lot of your stuff, you think it through of the way we think it through in real time, like with our clients.
Right, right. Because well, again, I've been doing it for so long. I know what back in the day, the old version. I mean, I remember with the clipboard and the pencil and the camera and you trying to go and do the card so that I could upload the photos and renumber all the. It was horrible, but there was no other solution. So one of the other things that we do, and that's sort of my job in the company, is always looking for better solutions and better options to make the projects and the process be easier, not only for our internal team, but for our partners. Because
Hmm.
we do want things like the inventory to be easy. We do want, when you upload your photos and your videos to Slack, what you guys don't know is that then gets imported into our CRM inside of our client file. So everything lives inside of that client file. So when we have to send an update, we just grab a link and go. But that's like the nerdy internal side, because we want it all to be as easy as possible for everyone who's got to touch the client.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure it's not like super cheap for these clients. So for them to be getting these updates that are not just like, words being written, but it's visuals, like you said, like the morning, the midday check-in, and then in the evening. And did you say that it's like taking a video and talking through what you did that day, or is it photos, or is it both?
Good question. So your before photos are simply wide angled of each room. Your midday check-ins are just a written, let us know where you're at in the process, which rooms you got done. It's also the best time for you to let us know if you're running short on contractor bags, you're running short on book boxes, you need X amount. Then the support staff in our office knows to order, and they'll either order for, if it's urgent, it needs to happen that day, or it'll be ordered for the next day that you're going to go do the pickup. End of day is a narrated video. You walk around and you let us know this is the entryway. We completed this and that, pan around, then we went through the foyer. And I keep using the same house because I'm looking at it, it's right here.
Right.
And then I go to the living room, and then you pan around, and our partner then said, this is what mom and sister are working on. So we left that there. All of these items are for donation. And then they have been filling a dumpster. So they also then give us a snapshot of how full the dumpster is. Why? Because we need to know how full it is, because right around halfway to 3/4 full, you let us know, and our internal team contacts dumpster, and we schedule the swap so that either later that day or the next morning it's in place. Why? It always comes back to the same thing, so that the organizer can continue to do the thing that she wants to do and loves to do, which is organize and work with the client. That's why. I'm going to answer questions that you didn't ask.
Yeah.
Do people get lunch? Of course they get lunch. We don't micromanage your lunch. We don't ask you to go offsite and go take an hour lunch. Every organizer I've ever met is super responsible. If anything, we're the ones that are saying, could you go take a break? Like stop for
Yeah.
30 minutes and eat a sandwich, as opposed to eating a protein bar, drinking water while you're working. I know organizers, they all multitask. So yes, take the breaks that you need. If the job is a big job, you can stagger your team, your assistants can take a break, then you can do it however you want. Y'all are grown-ups. If we
Right.
need to micromanage lunches, then it's probably not the right partnership on either side. You don't want us
Yeah.
micromanaging anybody's lunch. We also don't want to tell you how to fold the clothes, unpack a box, pack a box. We will give you some instructions of how to label certain things, only because it's a promise we made to the families that certain things will be labeled on all four sides because it's going into the storage unit. There may be some direction like that, but that comes back to the promise that was made to the family, less about us micromanaging how you do things. I love the creativity that organizers bring to the table. I love the maximizing of space, especially as we do these downsizes and relocations into communities. What can actually be put in a home and still keep it safe is extraordinary if you've got the eye for spatial management.
Hmm.
I hope that our partners feel the way we do, where it's a win-win on both sides. We've had some partners that have been with us just under 15 years. We are, for some, their sole source of income, and we are for others just incremental additional income depending on the location. We have a big boost right now happening in Texas and Ohio. Illinois is popping. New York is always going, and the New York metropolitan area, that's just our, because I was there for 18 years, there's business that's always bubbling up there. But yeah, and then California is now starting, Denver. So it's been a fun ride, and I so appreciate you being willing to ask me all these questions, put me in front of newer organizers. Yeah,
Ooh,
so
and that kind of actually goes to my next question. So you already answered the one that Kristen had, and then I'm going to get to the one Aaron had here in a second, from inside of the community. But when it comes to the newer organizers, you had made a comment to me that, like, hey, if you are actually a newer organizer and think, you know what, I would love to do this, but I may be a better assistant for someone because I am newer to this process, or I'd just like to try it out. Can you talk to that for a minute?
sure. And through this process, we've definitely come across some folks that are 6 months in, their first year in. And when you're your first year in, doesn't mean you've been organizing that full year. It means you've had a couple of jobs and just getting your feet wet. So when I meet folks like that, and in the same area, I've met some really wonderful partners who are more veteran, been around the block for a little bit, know exactly what their lines in the sand are, what the bag of tricks are, all of the words that, you don't even
Yeah.
have to explain to someone. I will ask the newer organizer if they're interested, because by the way, I just met Susan, and Susan's been in the business for 5, 6, 7 years, and I know she happens to be looking to build her team. Doesn't mean you need to stay with her forever, but again, back in the day, that's exactly how I used to build my team. I would take on newer organizers, educate them, support them, show them how to really get into the projects. And ultimately, did they leave? Sure. But guess what? There's always new ones coming back in. So to me, it was worth it because it helped boost and grow the business. And if nothing, it has the newer organizer and the more experienced organizer connect. If they get to work together, that's all the better. And if they can educate each other, that's even better. And I think we talked about this. We all know how lonely it is to be a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just an organizer business owner that's lonely or a business owner that's lonely, but it is lonely. And to have a community filled with folks that are like minded, I think it's super helpful. So, yes, so we will introduce and connect as needed.
Yeah, well, and again, that's the whole reason I created Pro Organizers Coach and my community and my courses is to teach, but also to have that community. The community is a big aspect of what I have because everything you've said, I totally agree with. Starting and growing a professional organizing business can feel lonely. You're making decisions by yourself, you're trying to figure things out, and you're wondering if you're doing things the right way, which is exactly why I created the Pro Organizers community. Inside the community, you're surrounded by women who are building their organizing businesses too. You'll get access to weekly group coaching sessions with me, guest expert workshops once a month, business discussions, and a supportive community where you can ask questions and get real answers. It's a place where you get to share your wins, work through challenges, and grow alongside others who understand this journey. If you purchase a course, you will get access to the community, or you can choose to just come join the community because building your dream business shouldn't feel like something that you have to do alone. Go to proorganizers.community to learn more. And also, just last night, we were talking about marketing last night when we were doing our group coaching session. And one of the things that one of the new, like she's super new, she had said something about, like, how do I market or how can I? And I said, reach out to some other organizers in your area. See if they need an assistant. Just let them know, hey, I'm here, because she had just gotten a job because another organizer needed to go on vacation. And I'm like, exactly. So the more you can talk now, some organizers are going to be like, I don't want to help you. And that's okay because you wouldn't want to work with them anyway. Forget about it. But it's at least worth reaching out to get your
Sure.
name out there, especially when you're new, because there are certain, types of jobs, especially me. I have one that I pass stuff along to if I'm booked out and they need it immediately, or if whatever the reason is, there's always things that come up.
Mhm.
And so if you're a newer organizer, that's a great way to market yourself and to learn as you're going through the things.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, so Erin had asked, let's see, because she had her interview with Dan and she said, plan behind the teams. Oh, actually, we've answered every single question all of my members
Well,
had.
that was great. One of the things, only because I just realized it
Yeah,
as we were talking, there are times we refer to organizers. You know how you refer to organizers because you're too busy? So we refer to organizers and other partners if the project isn't a match for us. So we're not, just like we're not the best partner for every organizer, every moving company, every removal company, we're also not always the best solution for the individual or older adult. So, for example, there are some folks that absolutely cannot wrap their head around a project that is more than 2 hours a day. That is absolutely okay. It is just not our business model.
right.
So, we don't want you to not have support. It's so sorry, it's not us, and walk away. No, when we work with other partners and get to know their abilities, their capabilities, whatnot. I've got a few actually organizers in the New York City metropolitan area that I refer to. They refer to us because we will work in heavily accumulated homes and they will not. And so every time they do an assessment and they see it, we do the bulk of the heavy lifting and we get it to a point where it just needs the pretty fine tuning. And I don't mean that demeaning, but we want to be conscious of that and we hand it right back to them. And they
Yeah,
finish it and they'll take it across the finish line if that's what they want. There are times they're like, no, no, it's all you.
yeah,
But we also, you know what I'm saying? It's like we also want to be super respectful. Also, I've had organizers ask me, can I use my own vendors? I want to address that. Yes, we are willing to use your preferred vendors. But as an organizer and as a woman business owner, I am going to say to you, be very mindful of your relationships. I am happy to use your favorite mover. And I want us to be respectful of your favorite mover. But when you start sharing your favorite mover with everyone, that favorite mover stops being available to you. So
I've had that happen with
we
two handyman.
we will, and I say it exactly that way in every interview. We will absolutely use your favorite mover. But here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to take your favorite mover. But what I will say is, if we have a job for your favorite mover, unless we're signing an agreement that we're not going to, right? And believe me, there's actually one organizer who has requested that these people be her folks only. We use some of her vendors. We use a lot of our own vendors. It doesn't really, as long as the vendors are good. I'm just saying, as a
Absolutely.
business owner, if I were coaching someone, I'd
Yeah.
say I'd be really mindful about handing those names out. I will say that I get asked on an ongoing basis by other people in the senior industry, do you have a handyman who can, I just got one, do you have a handyman who can come in and just do some installs of grab bars and a raised toilet, a shower head? And I'm like, yes, we do. That is also our service.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, what we can't do, and it's all the language, right? What we can't do
Hmm.
is we can't provide a vendor without doing more due diligence. What's the weight bearing of the client? What's the height? Where's the placement? I can't just hand you a handyman. There's too much liability there. The
Yeah.
truth is, that is true. The other truth is, I'm not giving you my handyman
Right.
because, as you know, you lost two
Then they're
handymen.
gone. Yeah. Because then they started getting so booked out because because I was new, I was telling every client I had, because every client you go to is like, do you know a handyman and do you know a cleaner? You know? And so I kind of got to a like, and back then I freely gave it, and that's totally fine because again, it's about community. But with what you're doing, you guys have so many moving parts and so many different things that like that's a whole different ball game than what I'm doing of just like not just, but going
Yes,
in
but
and
you
helping the clients. Yeah,
but you've also seen the drawback of being, I'm all about being generous and I'm all about being supportive. And if you give too much, you can find how it hurts your own company. So that's all I'm saying. Just as a business, I would just be
absolutely.
mindful. That's all.
I know
I,
part of
I
me is thinking
appreciate
with
that
my
people want to give
cleaner.
it to us.
Yeah, part of me with my cleaner, I'm like, I should be the one, like, I should essentially get the jobs I get her, either get some kind of referral fee, or when she goes, she can go under essentially my name, and then I'm getting like a $50 kickback that day or something. Like, I should be getting something for her going.
Something
Like,
with the amount of business that you, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and
um,
that's that then essentially becomes some of those larger agreements. Absolutely. I mean, we could have a whole different conversation about
oh
that,
God,
but
yeah.
yeah.
And we'll go ahead and start winding up. Is there
Sure.
anything else that we haven't talked about that we need to talk about? I know organizers have to have insurance is one thing that they have to have their, business has insurance. Does it have to be a certain type of insurance or just like general liability or what's the?
General liability is great. If you have errors and omissions, that's wonderful. A lot of folks don't even realize that they should have errors and omissions. And I explained it very simply. Liability is you accidentally broke it, and errors and omission is you accidentally gave it away or threw it away. And given what we do and how we are emptying homes and eliminating and decluttering, it's a good insurance to have. Don't have to. It's not mandatory for us. It's just, again, as a business owner, I suggest it, but definitely liability. We also have liability, workman's comp, and errors and omissions that cover all of our partners. Our partners are all covered under our bonding as well. Hopefully, we never, ever, ever have to use it. Let's see. How y'all get paid? That's part we didn't ask.
Oh
We
yeah.
didn't talk about. So the first three, the first three projects that you work with us on, you get paid via Zelle. You get paid 48 hours after the project completes. That gives us enough time to wrap up with the family, see if there's going to be an additional days, dot, dot, dot. Then you get paid via Zelle. On the third project and every project after that, you get paid via ACH direct deposit into your account. Those payments go out every Thursday and Monday. I don't know why that's so hard for me to remember. Every Thursday and Monday. And so if your project ends on a Tuesday, you get paid on Thursday, it ends on a Friday, you get paid on Monday. We try to make it so that you never have to spend a dime on your projects. If you do, you ran out of gloves, you need masks, you went out for lunch and you realize, I tore my last glove and now I got to pick up a box. Fine. Not a big deal. Just upload the receipt to Slack. That gets added to your final payout balance. If we're ever in a bind and we're working with a UPS that just isn't playing nice and isn't allowing us to use our corporate or a card over the phone. There are every once in a while, there are times where we ask the organizer to front the cash, but if it's in a large amount, we're going to get you Zelled right back. We want that to happen like immediately. We don't want you out any money. Shouldn't cost you money to work for us. I guess the next thing is if anybody who's watching or interested, if you are interested, then all you need to do is email us at partners@silversolution.com, and that'll go directly to our team that's doing initial intakes and then getting you guys scheduled into the queue. So you'll end up either meeting with me or you'll be meeting with Dan. Dan's not scary. He's just not a professional organizer. That's okay too. He's actually very, very, very smart in a lot of different ways and brings a lot to the table, which I'm super grateful for. And sometimes an organizer wants a different perspective. We were doing it 14 times a week. We were holding these interviews. Now we're down to 5 a week. I'm just trying to think because we just adjusted. We are now doing 5 a week. There will be a time where we start to roll back those meetings, but at this point, we're still rocking and rolling and we're still growing. So we're still looking for more folks that are interested in the partnership.
I love it. And that's from anywhere in the US, like wherever they are, because even if you're not there now, you could have a client that's moving there,
Correct.
or you might be opening it up soon because you guys have like 30 new places you'll be opening up in the next like year or so. So even
Yes.
if it's not right this second, then you're on the list for whenever that happens.
Exactly. And that's also something really good for for everybody to know is that it's a non-committal contract. So after, I guess we should talk about the process. You meet with us, you have the conversation, that's called the founders call. If you're interested in the partnership, we then connect you with Mallory in operations. She sends you a background link. Super easy. Takes 5 minutes. You answer some questions. When we get your background check back clean, you then get a universal contract. Has basic information about how you're not going to solicit Silver Solutions clients. You're not going to wear your branded clothing. You're not going to show up with your car magnet on with your phone number for the name of your company. You are a representative and a partner of Silver Solutions when you're in our clients' homes. That's pretty standard for anybody who is doing any kind of subcontracting. But that's what's in that document, as well as banking information, Zelle information, and that's for how we all get you paid. Then, when you are approached for a project, you'll either get an email or a text from one of us letting you know that we have a project in your area, approximately these dates, unless they're specific dates, the size of the team, the amount of days, and if you're available. And if you are available, what happens next is we send you a contract for that specific project. And that is basic details, the full amount, the budget for that project, and when you'll get paid. And then that's what kicks everything off. Can you ask more questions before you sign the contract? Absolutely. You absolutely can. Can you see media before you sign a contract for a project? Yes. I will say that the newer partners with us are doing that, and the ones that have partnered with us a long time have enough trust. We get it. You don't know who we are. So if you need a little bit more information, no harm, no foul. You can ask. I expect if you're an organizer, your brain just works in a way that you're going to ask a lot of
Right.
questions. You
Yeah.
should.
Yes.
You should.
Yes, because we know the more that we know ahead of the better of a job we can do as well. So, two quick questions. One, or not questions, but one's a statement, one's a question. One is whenever you reach out, because I know you had mentioned this the last time we talked, that you had sent out a job proposal and there was someone looking at more information or didn't get back to you and wasn't sure if they were available. And then another organizer ended up being like, hey, I'm available. So the job kind of, I mean, like it's first come, first serve when it
Sure.
goes out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So right now, because we're still in the growth phase, we aren't at a point where we are sending it out to 5 different organizers and whoever approaches us first and hits all the criteria. We're not there. Is that a future? Sure. Is that 3 years, 5 years? Sure. But where we are currently, it's much more intimate than that.
Mm-hmm.
You're likely getting a text message from me or Dan or Tana or Kathy or Najwa. Like you're hearing from us. We are the project managers. We're not so far removed that I'm just an owner. No, like I'm sitting here monitoring projects happening all over the US. It's all right here happening. That's why I keep talking about specific jobs
Yeah.
because they're showing up in my purview. So we're all still in it, right? We're all still here. So yes, so we will be reaching out to you. And look, you should take a few minutes and look it over. And if it's an urgent project, mom's getting discharged from, a hospital on Tuesday, we don't have the luxury, but we'll also tell you that, like,
Yeah.
we need to get this in place as soon as possible. So,
Yeah, you guys seem very open, which I love because that's like to me that's like the key to being a successful business owner and organizer because if we're running things the right way and if our heart's in it correctly, we should be able to be open for the most part unless like you said we've grown so big that there's just
we're
too many
far
things
removed.
happening. Yeah. And then the other question I had, so one of the things I do teach a lot of my ladies and that I implement with my listeners is having not a car magnet on the side, but on the back, actually having like it's a window cling kind of thing. Would you, because you had made the statement that you can't have anything showing, it is not a magnet that can be removed. Is it something that if we put like a sheet over it while we're at the client, like how would that work if they are someone that have that on their vehicle
It's
on the back?
hmm.
Because
So it's a
typically they don't, typically it doesn't say their name or even the name of their business. It's more of decluttering and organizing and then maybe their phone number or their website. It's very simple, it's very basic. It's just for, when you're driving down the road so people can actually see that like your information and stuff. So it's not typically like, a bunch of frill and different things. It's typically just very basic wording. But you did mention that, so I wanted to ask.
yeah. I mean, without having a bigger conversation with Dan about it, this clear and simple is no co-branding, no personal branding.
Mhm.
So I'd
That's why I
have
was
to,
asking. You could like open your trunk and put a sheet and like shut the trunk back and it would be covered.
and then it's covered. And if that's fine, I mean, if they're really going to do that, that's great. If they're really going to do that, it's up to them, right? Now it just comes down to trust. The reality is,
Absolutely.
I'm never going to know if you have a magnet on your car. I'm never
Right.
going to know that. I am going to say that we all. I live in a world where we all have ethics and we all do the right thing. Does that mean everybody does? No. So
Right.
I think what I'm going to say as a blanket statement is we prefer to have zero co-branding confusion with our partners and Silver Solutions. And if it's a bigger conversation that an individual wants to have with us, then they should. And then that also is just something that if there's ever something specific to a person, then let's talk about it because everything is a
Right.
conversation,
Yeah.
right?
And it could be as simple as like you back in and make sure that it's not facing the road when you get there or that, like, because that was the only thing that came up that I'm a little like, just because that is one of the ways that I market my business. It's worked really well for me to market my business that way. The only
Sure, that's
problem
why I
is
keep talking. That's why I always talk about the magnet because that's what
yeah.
everybody used to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the problem with the magnet you could remove it. With this, it's like it's attached to your window. It's a decal, but once you remove it, there went $300. So,
Exactly. No, I
yeah.
get it.
Okay, perfect. All right, I will put the link in the description about the partners at silversolutions.com if anyone is interested to email you there. Thank you so much for coming on the show and being
Thank
so
you.
open and explaining and all the things.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Thank you to everybody. And you and I should need to stay connected.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you guys. And if anyone needs anything, reach out to her or to me. We are here for you. And I will see you guys in the next episode.